every team can still avoid relegation and even make playoffs.
Where did Giants Gaming go?
Nuestro objetivo ahora mismo es no quedar últimos.
I think everything is possible right now. We just have to win more games.
Rocket, we felt could be a top 4 contender, is just not finding the magical ingredient. Meet your makers need to be very, very careful.
The whole team has a new motivation right now. I think I can save the MIM season.
The team that at week 1 were expected to be top 2, top 3.
It's only gonna work if you actually improve the issues we have.
5 wins, 9 losses, out of playoff positions.
But with just 4 games left to play, every win counts. Welcome to the European League of Legends Championship Series Spring Split. We're coming to you live from Berlin, Germany, where just moments ago, everything started to get underway here as the fans were lining up to take their seats and enjoy all the action we've got lined up for you today. There's the Fish Show giving a tour to some Danish fans, but a lovely group of guys looking in here in the crowd as well, checking out the analyst desk and everything. Gambit there, Diamond. Well, these guys have a lot to think about after IEM. Pinoy is always happy, but they'll have to prove themselves on the Rift after that tournament. And here, of course, MYM, they cannot lose their first game versus Gambit coming up here. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter here with Trevor Quickshot Henry and our guest analyst for the week, OG World Champion Lauri Cyanide Happonen, as we get into the first of the final 2 weeks before the spring playoffs. Welcome, gentlemen.
Greetings.
Good to see you again, Cyanide, as always. And before we get to today's games, let's recap last weekend's action at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship in Katowice, Poland. It wasn't the best tournament for EU. I mean, we got to come straight out and say that. First up, SK Gaming, who won versus the Yowie Flash Wolves initially, but then dropped the games to both GE Tigers and the Yowie Flash Wolves, and their weaknesses were exposed.
Yeah, that's the main thing about SK, is they've had these glaring weaknesses that we've actually highlighted multiple times throughout the course of the split, but the teams at IEM just exploited them to near perfection. The vision, the lack of winning laning phase, and I also think Enrated had a particularly poor tournament. That Lulu was banned out. He didn't show up on Annie. So we need to see if SK can work around their weaknesses and improve before we get to playoffs.
Yeah, and our other European representative at IEM, Gambit, they were 0-2. They lost to CJ Entis and Team WE, and it wasn't as much the other teams exploiting their weaknesses as them, to me, showing really a solo queue attitude in the game.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Gambit just didn't show up. I actually really like what they tried to do against CJ Entis. They had this heavy engaged composition, Lee Sin, Twisted Fate, and even a Jarvan in the top lane. But the problem is they didn't play around the comp. I felt that Eddie in particular, he had these early mobility distortion boots and he just didn't roam enough. Gambit didn't find ways to make the team comp work, and they ended up going 0-2, getting knocked out early.
Yeah, definitely fell apart there. But in the end, the North American team solo mid reigned supreme, taking home the #1 prize at the end of the tourney after a dominant 3-0 sweep of Team WE in the finals. Fantastic performance there from them. And even here in Europe, we chant for TSM. Now let's bring it back to the LCS with a look at the standings. At the top of the table, we have Fnatic, H2K, and SK Gaming. Fnatic and H2K, they are tied for the 2nd place playoff bye to the semifinals. And then right under that, we have the Copenhagen Wolves versus the Unicorns of Love, the matchup that's coming here later today. That will be so important in that playoff battle.
It really will be. But for me, my eyes is in the bottom half of the table with Elements, Rocket, Giants, and MYM. Interestingly, because of how difficult it's going to be for Elements and Rocket to make those playoff positions, and who's also going to take that 9th and 10th position between Giants and MYM. 10th, auto relegation down to Challenger Series.
Yeah, every game counts. And finally, this week's games will be played on patch 5.5, where the big changes, of course, are new Cinderhulk jungle enchantment. And while Kassadin will be enabled, Bard will not. And we have a fantastic jungler here with us to talk us through the changes. What have been your impression of the changes? What do you think they will do in LCS?
So I hope the Cinderhulk will bring some variety to the jungle that we have been looking for a long time now. It's been the Jarvan, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai for such a long time right now, and I'm getting bored of playing those champions. So I hope the competitive teams, they will bring some new junglers out, and I think Rek'Sai and Nidalee will still be tier 1, but we might see some tanky junglers as the tier 2 picks, especially since teams are attracting a lot of jungle bans right now, but it might take them some weeks to get used to the new meta and seeing what's good first, and then before they have the guts to pull out the new picks.
Yeah, we'll see who has the guts to pull it out here. Well, with so much potential for a shift in the meta, we want to hear what you guys think. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag LCS and let us know which champion do you want to see played by a pro on patch 5.5 and why. Lauri.
For me, it would be Volibear because I'm a huge fan of him, but I don't think he will be picked because literally every tier 1 support counters him like Morgana, you get binded, Thresh, you just get boxed and you can't do anything. But I think one champion we might see is Zac. He got a bit buffed and I think the new jungle item suits him even better. Like late game, you're just an unkillable monster, so that's something I hope to see.
Yeah, me as well. Well, we'll probably see those jungle changes right away as we start the day with Gambit and Meet Your Makers, who have no choice but to win if they want to stay in the LCS. And then the Copenhagen Wolves and the Unicorns of Love will go head-to-head to break the tie in the middle of the table. Finally, Elements will face H2K later today as Odoamne and the rest of the team look to tie Fnatic's win streak record with their 9th straight win. Now, if you want to look ahead at the last matchup of the Spring Split, head over to lolesports.com, and there you'll find schedule, standings, and the latest worldwide power rankings to see how the teams stack up on a global scale. And we got a little look into that at IEM. It wasn't that good for Europe, sadly. It's time for us to take a look at our first matchup of the day, though, as Meet Your Makers goes up against Gambit. Let's start by taking a look at the lineup for Gambit Gaming as we know it. Of course, Cabochard, Diamond, Betsy, Pinoy, Edward, and Leviathan. Before they went to IEM, they went 1-1 the week before, and they lost to H2K, which is a very good team, of course. But to me, I'm quite worried about them because they looked disjointed at IEM, and I don't know how much of that they will bring into this playoff race.
Yeah, like at the start of the split, we saw Gambit was just struggling to get any wins, and they were like on this full tilt streak. And then after that, they went on a good spree, and now they again got crushed at IEM. So I hope it doesn't completely break their morale.
Yeah, Diamonds was particularly disillusioned after his performance, and he said in an interview, I think European junglers are the best, maybe after Koreans. He did get beat out by Ambition and Spirit, and for him personally, it was not a good experience.
It really wasn't. Part of the reason that Gambit had such a good sort of week 3 to week 7 performances and they strung together all of those wins was because of how well Diamond was playing. There was some jungle changes that come in. Diamond had some good impact on lanes, but at IEM, he may as well have not been on the field. His Nidalee in game 2 of the tournament, he picked up a skirmisher. Saber Crumbs in particular was super disappointed with the itemization. And I think for Diamond, in the interview, he did say he played terribly, he played poorly. We'll see if he can pick it up. There's only 2 weeks left before playoffs, and Gambit needs every win they can to make it in.
And in theory, a new patch with Diamond, he should be able to look at that. But of course, they had a little less practice because they went to IEM. Talking about team morale, though, also Edward, he tweeted after the loss at IEM, I'm really bad at this game. I need to step up or GTFO from League. Very harsh words, Cyanide. What does that tell you about a player that's been around for so long and can't seem to find his groove?
Yeah, I just feel like he was really emotional after the loss and was just venting through Twitter.
Yeah, one thing I want to highlight about that, yes, you know, Eddie was venting and he has been a fairly vocal player, but Eddie's not been as dominant as he once was. The Thresh Prince, that title is, I think, long gone. At the tournament, even the god of Mad Life wasn't living up to historical performance. So for Edward, I think it is a very fair statement. He needs to find a way to get that impact back that he once had, even just earlier in this split.
Yeah, and whatever it means, the team just has to come together right now. They play Elements after this, the Unicorns of Love, SK to end the split, so they have a super, super heavy schedule. And now they're up against MYM. They did beat them in week 5, but I feel like MYM could really have an in here. But let's first take a look at the lineup for MYM. Of course, in the top lane, JWoww, then Horo, Corey, Mr. Ralls, Noxiac, and Yamato Cannon. They absolutely need to win. If they lose this, they are out of the race entirely. And we did see Noxiac in the preview right now, and he had some really strong words. I
absolutely love that. Noxiac saying, I believe I can help fix MYM's auto-relegation. I think it's a fair statement. Since Noxiac's come in, MYM seems to have some more cohesion. His aggressive support plays, Leon in particular, stands out. And if the team can get behind both him as well as Corey in that mid lane, maybe they can pull off some surprise wins, push Giants down to number 10 and get themselves into the promotion tournament.
Yeah, because they did win versus Giants last week, and although that might not seem that much, those are the games you absolutely have to win to stay in the race. Talking about things that have been good for this team in all the bad stuff, actually, this season, Horo continues to impress. He also had a great week again. What do you think he can do more for the team in these final crucial weeks?
Yeah, I think Horo is a really good jungler, and it's saying a lot because when your team doesn't perform, it's really hard to shine out as a jungler, but he's done a really good job and is for sure one of the better junglers in Europe.
Yeah, so, well, positive points for MYM there all around. Do you think they have what it takes to beat Gambit, even with, maybe with Gambit now being a little bit under the weather?
I still think Gambit is the better team, and I think they will win, but you never know how much improvement MIM has had during these weeks they had to practice.
Yeah, and the one thing it also plays into MYM's favor, the fact that they've had a couple extra days on 5.5. So we'll see whether or not they can find something to settle in, to unsettle Gambit.
Yep, well, without further ado, it's time to hand it off to our dashing duo at the caster desk.